Fareedah Shaheed, known on the socials as CyberFareedah, is our guest today. She's an award-winning internet safety expert and was recognized for her work in cybersecurity by Forbes magazine. She was a Forbes 30 Under 30 honoree and has presented internet safety education to many nonprofit organizations, as well as to parents at Fortune 500 companies. Her educational background is in cybersecurity and threat intelligence, yet she was a teen, just like you and me, and she participated in online gaming. She narrowly avoided meeting up with an online predator, and she uses that personal experience to fuel her passion for helping parents to provide quality internet safety education in the home. We talk about that personal experience, as well as her journey to becoming a lead advisor to parents around internet safety and gaming. I ask her what online games have the highest safety concerns for kids and preteens. What's different about the games our teens are playing today versus the games that were available 10 to 15 years ago? We discuss why her methods and her approach to internet safety works. And she shares her top tips for parents who want to make the online environment safe for their preteens and teens. Now, of course, check out the links in the description if you want to follow CyberFareedah on the socials and here on YouTube. Let's get into this 20-minute talk. Let me introduce you to my friend, Fareedah Shaheed. What's up, Fareedah?
Hi, Kathleen.
It's so great to chat with you again. I don't think we have actually collaborated since I was a guest at your masterclass for your PKO membership.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes. I feel like that's been 5, 6 months
I
now.
think it's been over 6 months now. Yeah.
That's
So
crazy. Oh my
it's
God.
been a while, but that was really fun.
It was.
And you
Thank
helped.
you.
Not a problem. I'm so happy. Thank you for being here with me.
It's my
Um,
pleasure.
you help so many parents navigate the online world through your membership. And you have such a unique way of providing this education due to your background and everything, but also because you were once a gamer yourself, right?
Yes. My favorite thing in the world. I actually still game till this day. I don't know when the gaming bug will leave me. It obviously as you mature and you progress, it changes, it shifts how you game and how you play.
Yeah.
And of course your priorities in life, because obviously priority is family, business, that type of stuff. But yeah, I still game till today. So I've been gaming since I was 13.
Wow. Okay. So long time.
Yes.
How did how did this what happened in your teen years that sparked this transition, this passion into going from a teen gamer to a parent advisor of online gaming?
Well, obviously that's not something I thought I would be doing. I didn't know that I would be doing this. And honestly, I only started connecting the dots after I was in this industry. So I didn't actually get into this industry because of that. It's this a little convoluted story, but I'll do really quickly.
Take your time, take your
When I
time.
when I was a kid, loved gaming. And then because I wasn't in games all the time, so I never had like I'm gonna cut off at like 10 p.m. or 7 p.m. or 6 p.m. Like I was in there like 2 a.m. in the morning.
Mhm.
And I had experiences that were traumatic and I was groomed in those online games. So that's one of the reasons why I started this. And then but also I had some phenomenal experiences and made the best friends and best connections of my life. So it's similar to just how a lot of people just, you go to school, you have an experience, someone who bullies you, so it's very similar where it was just online. And
Mhm.
so I still have friends to this day who I've met when I was like in my teens. And we're still friends to this day. Like people went through marriages, divorces, kids, miscarriages, like the whole 9 yards. So we're still friends today. And so I started getting interested in technology because my dad was in technology. And then also gaming is very connected to technology and the internet, and of course. And so that's how I got into the IT field. And I just thought I wanted to do technology. Like I just wanted to be like an engineer, a network engineer, software, something. I don't know. I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I wanted to be in tech. And then as I was in tech, I saw people talking about safety online. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. I actually really like that. I think I'm going to switch to that. Long story short, switch to that. And then people started to talk about kid safety. And I was like, the way that people are talking about kid safety is so weird. Like it's as if they have no understanding of what kids go through. You know what I mean? It's just weird. It was a weird way that it was presented online in the media and articles where it was very clinical, very cold, and not is very detached from reality. And so I was really confused by that, but I felt like, look, I'm not a parent. I can't say anything. Maybe this is just how it's supposed to be. And then as I started working in the industry, a lot of parents would beg me honestly to be like, can you please talk about child safety? And I'm like, why would you want me to talk about child safety when I'm not a parent? Like, why would you want me to do that? No, I'm not going to do that. But then mother after mother came to me, and I said this in one of the things I wrote. I said, I could see my mother's eyes in their eyes, their worry, their frustration, their stress, their overwhelm that they're going through as mothers. It hit me to my core. And then I started to remember experiences that I had with my mom. And then I would talk to them and be like, okay, well, this is probably why your son is not listening to you. This is probably why your daughter is sneaking around. This is probably, and they're like, oh my God, you need to talk more about this. And I'm like, I mean, okay, you know what? I will do that. And because in the back of my head, I realized that if I could save one child, or not really save, but help a parent with their child, if it's just one child that ends up being safer because of something I said to a parent, then that means that I did my job. And that means that I'm happy, I'm good. And so that's what started me into this. So I didn't realize there was connection being made, but it happened. And then I became really passionate about this subject.
I mean, nobody actually expects like their path, the way you think your path is going to happen. It never usually goes that way. There's a lot
Ever.
of offshoots that happen. So I really appreciate you sharing that. One of the things that you mentioned was that you experienced grooming in the game. I think what parents love and what I actually love about your content is your holistic approach. Like you saw that there was grooming looking back on it now,
Mm-hmm.
but you also saw and have really great friends out of it, right? It's not an all or nothing kind of thing. So
Absolutely.
could you maybe talk a little bit about those grooming signs that you saw in gaming, or that looking back now, that's kind of like what you help parents with?
I love the way that you phrased it, and you can tell that you're an expert in this based off how you phrased the question, honestly. You could tell it, like you could tell. The reason being is because obviously as a kid, I never understood it to be grooming. I didn't understand what grooming was. When parents, adults would explain what a predator was, I was like, okay, like that's never going to happen.
Mhm.
But I didn't know that I'm actively talking to a predator at this particular moment,
Right.
but I'm like, that's my friend and
Yeah.
he's fine. And I've never been groomed by a woman, but let's say like there's a lot of boys or girls or however they
Yeah.
identify, they are being groomed by people who identify as women as well. So, it doesn't, it's not really based off of that. But personal, for my experience, has all been people who identify as men. And I didn't realize that as a kid, but looking back, I was like, oh, whoa, that's not appropriate. That wasn't good. That's why I
Mhm.
felt that way. And there were certain moments as a kid, I knew that something was wrong, but I didn't have a word for it. And
Mhm.
so some of the signs that I would say, and it depends on who I'm talking to. If I'm talking to a teen, I'm going to word it differently than if I'm talking to a parent, but just general audience speaking, when you have a feeling in your gut, like a deep, I call it like a deep, dark pit in my gut, or when I feel like I'm drowning emotionally or like inside, where I just feel like there's like a sense of like I'm suffocating.
Mm.
That is what I find is like as a red flag feeling when you're speaking to somebody else. That's number one. Number two is when someone is trying to convince you that you don't need to tell anybody about this interaction. Like this is just between us. And as a kid, you're like, well, of course, because it's like a personal interaction. So no one should be knowing about this. But as an adult, you're realizing no, and another adult shouldn't be talking to a kid saying that this interaction is like a secret between us. So
Mhm.
that's another one. Especially when, or if they ask, like, are your parents home? Like, is anyone
Mm.
around? Are you alone? Those type of questions are like red flag questions when it comes to like predatory behavior and grooming. I know that now, but as a kid, I'm like, this is fun.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's I think because I work with a lot of parents as well, it's helping them to see that when you have these conversations, when you say it one time and you say these are those signs to look out for, it's not like it's a sticky note taped to their computer screen while they're playing and they're like looking for those signs. They're just having fun. And this is the need for, I love your approach, constant, right? And that's part of your membership as well, constantly reminding parents to have these talks, constantly bringing it back to the
Because you
forefront.
are the sticky note.
Yeah, yes, the parents.
That like
Ah,
no, like the you are the sticky note, which is why, and as you already know, I always say give room for your kids to just speak about their experiences casually. Don't interrupt them. Don't be like, oh, that's bad or this is good. Sometimes you have to do that, but not every single conversation, because you want it to just be so casual that when you voice a concern, they listen to you. It's similar to like the boy who cried wolf. If you're a parent that's crying wolf all the time with their online activities, they don't hear you anymore.
very
But
true.
if you're going to just allow things like you not not bad things, but you know when to speak up. And then when you actually are crying wolf, or I guess you can't say crying wolf, but when you're actually saying something, your kid is like, oh, I'm going to pay attention now because you don't typically say something like this. But if you're always like, well, this is why you shouldn't be on this is why this, and that's why, and then now they're like, well, then I can't speak to my parent. And I always say the number one thing that predators love is kids that don't speak to their parents or feel like they can't. And I think a lot of parents feel like, oh, well, I have a good relationship with my child. My child trusts me. My child knows that I love them and we're good. And sometimes, and I'm not trying to scare parents, but that was my relationship with my mom. Like we were, you know,
Hmm.
it was great. I trusted her in general, not totally, but in general. I knew that she loved me very, very much. I knew that she would never do anything to harm me. And I still hid everything from her because one, I did not want to worry her. And I knew that she was overwhelmed with whatever she was going through. I didn't understand everything as a kid, but I knew that she was very overwhelmed. And I felt like if I told her one other thing, it would just tip over. And then also, I didn't want her to take away my devices. I didn't want her to take away the game.
Yeah.
And I knew that she would get so worried that she would be like, oh, well, let's just shut this down just for now.
Yeah.
And then I'm thinking, well, she's going to say just for now, but then she's never going to let me play it again.
Hmm.
So
And
those are
that,
things.
and as a teen, that is like your connection to these friends that you made that weren't predators, right? And so yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. So it's this holistic approach to internet safety that you bring to the game that I love. And I think this is why your approach works, right? Like I just think this experience, your personal experience, along with your education, really brings a unique approach. So yeah, I'm so
Thank you.
happy, especially if parents are meeting you for the first time in this video podcast. I'm really hoping that they go and follow you on your socials and check out your website, which is definitely down in the
Yes.
description below. So
Yes, if you're listening, I would love to have you. Say hi.
go talk to her. So let
Yes.
me ask you another question. What are the games that have the highest safety concerns for kids? Or maybe I should break it down like kids, preteens, teens, because I know not everybody plays the same games.
Anything that's online is more unsafe than something that's offline.
Okay.
So that's just like the quickest distinction. And then from there, anything that doesn't have safety features is going to be more unsafe. So if it doesn't have the ability to, I mean, for the parent side, there's a parent side in safety, and then there's the kid side in safety. So the parent side in safety is just like, are there some parental controls, especially when they're younger? Are you able to have a parental pin so that it can't be changed? Those type of things. And
Mhm.
then for the kid safety is like, is there two-factor authentication on the account so other people aren't getting into the account? Do they make sure that when you're clicking on a link in a game, it doesn't automatically open in your browser? It make sure that you're not putting your actual name inside of the game. It's reminding you like, hey, don't make sure you don't have your name or your real birth date in your name, that type of thing. So it's two different sides, but that's the quickest distinction I could make.
Online versus offline. So as long as it stays offline, you're
Is
more
way better.
protected. Protected. And then it gets into all of the things that you talk about when it goes to online, because that's a whole nother
It's a whole
ball
beast.
game. Yeah. I mean, you've been gaming for a very long time. Like, what's the difference that you see in games when you were gaming back in the day?
That wasn't that long
To
ago.
I know. To now, like what's the difference? Because I mean, you were still groomed then, and we now know grooming and sextortion is happening more often now. Like, yeah, what's the difference in the games now?
Well, there was social media wasn't like the bigger component of it. So there's a lot more like add me on Snapchat, add me on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
And that wasn't a thing, obviously. And
Okay.
so that's quite different because now it's like blurring the lines between, because before a lot of people had, and not to say that they don't have that now, they absolutely do have that now, where you have your gaming life and then you have your quote unquote real life, but I like to call it offline life because both are real life. And that I'm
Uh,
very like
I
I'm
like that
very
distinction.
yeah, it's very
Offline.
important. Yeah, very offline because both are real life. If you keep telling kids it's not real life, then their emotions aren't real, their experiences aren't real, and then the threats aren't real. So you have to say offline versus online life. But in the game, we say IRL, which is in real life. I think most people use that term now. But it used to be a lot more people are separating their lives, but because of social media and people have their regular social media and they're adding their gaming friends, their school friends, all in one place.
Mm-hmm.
And so that those identities get mixed together and people are more likely to appear who they actually are and not be like anonymous online as much as before. So I feel like that's number one that I see that's a little bit different. Most of it is just enhanced what we already see. I mean, because there is a lot more realistic games, people get more immersed in it and they become like infused with the character. I'm not saying all kids are like this, it's just easier to do that. And
Mm-hmm.
so in your online life, you're creating a life that's even more realistic than what it could have been if you're like paying, I don't know, Sims or something.
Okay.
Because now
Okay.
you have virtual reality. Now you can be in the body. Now you can
Right.
experience it in that way. And that wasn't a thing before. So it's I feel it's a really interesting in terms of the mindset. But of course, I believe, and I have a very strong belief system in this. I can't even really say what it is to experience gaming now as opposed to then, because it's a completely different ball game. Not completely different, but in terms of how it feels as a child. I know how it felt for me, and I'm able
Mm-hmm.
to connect because most people aren't online talking about that. And the people
Mm-hmm.
that do were able to connect with each other. But it's different now, even when it comes to VR.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. I mean, maybe you can answer this question for me because a lot of the parents that I work with, when it comes to online gaming, they're just like, you know what, I really want to keep them. I don't want them gaming. But, if it's something that they enjoy, they might actually game or they might watch gaming, like the
Yes.
streaming. Is
Yes.
there is there a concern there? Is it okay to just watch I don't know. Maybe you can quickly talk about
Yeah, of course it can be safer in some ways than actually playing the game, but of course there's a community, there's a chat, there's the what's inside of the chat. Is it appropriate? Is it not? A lot of times it isn't. A lot of
that.
times it's like teetering the line. And then also it doesn't match your family values because one family is like, I'm fine with this amount of content because you're at this age, you're a little bit more mature. And another family's like, no, because I'm fine with it, but now you're acting like that person that you're watching online, and I'm not okay with this behavior.
Right.
So yeah, I would just be careful.
Okay. Yeah. And if they decide to want to stream themselves,
Oh,
that's
that's a whole other,
another.
I mean, that's a whole
Okay.
other,
Okay.
that's a whole other like 6-part podcast series. But I mean, I'd just be aware of how they appear online. That's a whole other thing. That's
Yeah.
like,
Okay.
yeah. If your kids
They
wants to do that, you definitely like talk to
talk to
both of us
you. Talk to
actually.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Talk to
Yeah.
you. Go onto
That's a
your
whole
website, set up an
that's a whole
appointment.
other thing. That's
Okay.
crazy. Not
Uh,
crazy, but that's a whole can of worms.
okay.
But
Okay.
you can do it safely. You absolutely can. It's just you have to be a lot more engaged than you probably are going to be. You have time for. So
Right.
if you're a parent listening to this right now and you have time to do it, you have the mental space and ability, then absolutely go ahead and support your child's dreams. It's better for them to do it with you involved than do it behind your back.
Right. Of course.
So
Yes, with
yeah,
anything. Yeah. With
exactly.
anything. Okay. All right. Well, I have another question for you. Um, you are you are an expert in cybersecurity and threat intelligence in this field. Give parents your top three tips when it comes to making the online environment safe. I always talk about the home environment. So my followers hear me. I'm always talking about making the home environment safe for your child to come to you and have the sex talks and all of those things. But what are your top three tips for making the online environment safe?
Well, the online environment is your real life. So therefore, whatever you're cultivating in your home environment with whatever Kathleen is telling you is the exact same thing you need to do to protect your kids online. So if you're following Kathleen's advice, it automatically transfers online, even more so because what they're seeing online, there's sexting, there's dating, there's porn, there's explicit content, explicit interactions, explicit role playing. And all of those discussions are super challenging. So if you can start tackling those discussions, you can slowly get into, okay, sextortion scams, predators, online grooming, predatory behavior, red flags, then you get into scams, then you like it's easy, it's not easier, but you're setting the groundwork to have those conversations. So that is whatever Kathleen said, do that. I mean, there
Thank
is the
you.
safe method, of course, that I created, like the safe methods of protecting your kids online. And essentially, and that goes into many different categories, but if you want like a starting point, whatever Kathleen is telling you, do that. It will translate online. You don't have to do double effort. The double effort comes in when it comes to security and safety in terms of securing devices, securing your online accounts. Then
Okay.
that'll be a different discussion.
Okay. I mean, I think what you said, I think that was a new moment for me, offline and online, not real life and online. And
Correct.
I think if parents can take away that right now and put that in their head, you're online and online you behave, you this, these are the things, right? And it's offline, these are the things, right? And they're the
Exactly.
same. And if you can
Yes.
find that, then you're
Yes. And
gonna
it also helps you hone into your point because if you're saying someone's a bad guy, but they're only online and it's not real, then are they really a bad guy?
yeah. I, dropping the knowledge, Fareedah. I love it. I love it. All right. Well, 20 minutes goes by so
I
fast.
know. That's crazy.
We could always chat much, 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 much more.
Of course.
But is there anything you want? Is there anything coming up? Anything going on that anybody should know about? Uh, Please feel free to say it here.
Well, I mean, if so long as you are following me on Instagram and you're in the email newsletter and you're messaging me and you're talking to me, you're good. You're up to date. You're getting the things. Of course, there are many things that can be missed, but I want parents to know that they don't need to be an expert in safety in order to protect their kids online. You don't need to know more than your kids. You don't need to be an expert in gaming. That is what I'm here for. I'm here to be like your techie friend, not so techie, but techie enough. Okay, because I'm not fixing nobody's computer. Don't ask me. But you're a techie friend, so like you're okay. You have enough stress in life. You got this.
I, I love that. Everybody, please go follow CyberFareedah at CyberFareedah. And the socials, everything is linked in the description. Fareedah, thank you so much. This was so
Thank you,
lovely to chat with
Kathleen.
you.
I love chatting with you. Honestly, you're the best. Thank you for having me.
All right.